Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm taking a look at Five Nights at Freddy's Survive Till 6. It's a game for 1 or 2 players ages 13 and up. So I'll start with the setup. In a 2-player game, you each have your power meter and you start it at 1. That'll depreciate during the game, and once it gets to 0, you lose. So each player has a little dial. See, it goes up and it goes down as you play. You have an office. You have camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, and camera 4. So you'll watch the cameras and you'll try to stop monsters from advancing through the 4 areas: the hallway, the pirate cove, the dining area, and the show stage. So to set up your decks, it tells you on the board you have 10 cards and 2 monsters shuffle in. Animatronics, I can't say it, so I'm going to say monsters. So you shuffle those in, they'll be hidden in the decks. And each deck is just placed on the board here. The dining area has 1 monster and 11 cards. So let's shuffle that in. Oops. The second camera, the Pirate Cove, also has 1 monster and 11 cards. Just kind of shuffle that in. And the hallway has no monsters in it. Monsters will advance to it. And then here's your office. You do the same for player 2. And then there's a clock counter, which will count down every 30 minutes. It starts at midnight. You want to get to 6 a.m. and if you can get to 6 a.m. before a monster reaches your office, you win the game. In a 2-player game, you win if your opponent reaches 0 energy, or if an opponent's card gets to the office. The game takes place in 2 phases. You have the monitor camera phase, and during that phase, both players will simultaneously flip a card over. If it's a monster, you know what, if it's a monster, they keep flipping, otherwise they stop. And here we have a monster that was drawn, the Chica. So then we draw another one there. And I'll go over the cards in a second. We'll look at this player too. Is that gonna fit? We'll put theirs right here so that they fit. Got a monster there, so we draw another. And another. Okay. So now there's a few different types of cards, and I believe I have all 4 of them drawn here. So the empty rooms don't do anything, so they are immediately discarded to your office. So then after you discard those, and this one will take effect, but you decide which cards you want to encounter. They call it react, which cards you want to react to. So when you react to a card, you pick a card you want to react to, and you roll a dice. And you can only go up to 2. So, for example, on this one, we'd react to the monster. We'll react to both of these. If you react to a card, you roll the dice, and then you discard the card. Or if it's a monster, you shuffle it back into the deck. So for these 2, we'd roll a 5 on each of those. The 5 is how much energy you spend to react to the card. So we spent the 5 for player 1, and they would lose 5, and then this power depletion card means they lose an additional 5. You only do that if you roll. So player 1 right now, for reacting to those 2 cards, would lose 15 points. They're down to 85. The what was that was reacted to, so it goes to the discard in the office. And the Chica was reacted to. Those don't get discarded, they get shuffled back into the deck. If you don't react to a monster, they get shuffled into the next deck up, so they get closer to your office. So the goal of the game is to prevent the monsters from moving up into the decks. Because as soon as a monster gets to the office, you lose the game. This card that we did not react to, then we encounter, and what was that? If it shows 2 cards, then you take the top of the deck, you flip it over, and immediately encounter it. Since there's no more rolling in this phase, that card doesn't do anything, and then they both go to the discard. Then player 2 would do the same thing. They would choose which cards they react to, which ones they don't. So this what was that will take the cards from the pile and they'll jump up that many spaces. So on this one, a card would jump up 2 spaces if they don't react to it. Same with this one. There's a monster, and this what was that, it just moves a card up 1 space. So player 2 could decide to react to the monster, and they know there's no other monsters in that deck, so they won't react to that, but they will react to this one because there's 2 monsters in that deck, so if that's a monster, it could actually move up. So you do the react, and you start, always started jumped around a bit, you always start closest to your office on the react. So they're reacting to the monster, they roll, it's a 5, it gets shuffled back into the deck, shuffle, 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 and this one they'll react to the what was that, and they also lose 5. So they lose 5 total, 10 total, sorry, goes down to 90. And then the cards they did not react to, they have to do. So you're starting at your office, then you do the hallway. So that would take the top card, it can only move 1 space. If it's farther, it can move 3 or 2. And when it moves into your office, you always flip it over. It goes to your discard. If it was a monster, they lose. So that one has been encountered. This one goes 2, so it goes 1, 2. If this is a monster, they lose. It's not. This one goes to the hallway. This one they need to react to, it goes 1 over. And you don't flip it over since it's not going into your office. So that could be a monster that just moves closer. It's hard to tell because you don't see the card. So now the next turn, you do the same thing. You start at your hallway, and again, both of these players would do this at the same time. You flip the cards. You have a what was that? Oh, we got a monster. When you have a monster, you draw another until you don't draw a monster. Player 2. Whoops, I'm going in the wrong order. You got to start by your office. So you flip that. Power depletion. Oh, we got a toy bunny. Toy bunny. Draw another. And here. Okay, so now we've monitored the cameras, and now it's time to react again. The player with the highest energy goes first. So it'd be player 2 this time. If there's a tie, each one number has a star. So if they're both at 85%, whoever had the star would go first. But since it's not a tie, there's 90, this player goes first. So they would look at what they want to react to. They'll react to the monster, and they'll react to probably this one again. You don't have to react. So they'll just react to the monster for the example. So you roll. It was a 10, so they lose 10 power, and since there's a power depletion, they actually lose 15. So that gets discarded, and monster shuffles back in. And now they react to the cards, or they encounter the cards that were not react to. So starting at your hallway, you flip this one, and it's that double. It comes down, so you just react to the card immediately. And it was that, so you do it again. Oh, and now it's this. So your top card goes over. If it goes in the office, it flips over. If it was a monster, they lose. It was not a monster. Then they move on, there's nothing there. They have this one, so this card, top card just moves over. And now here, oh, I didn't react to that, so they have to do it. So this card actually goes 1, 2. So if that's a monster, it just moved up 2 spaces. Do one more round here. You immediately discard the empty rooms because they have no consequence. They're just a lucky draw. Decide what to react to. We'll react to the monster, and this time we'll react to that one too. So player 1 will roll for those 2 reactions. A 5 and a 0. You can have a 0, 5, or 10 on the dice. So the 5, that's discarded because we reacted to it. And the monster shuffles back in. And then player 1 would react to the card that they would encounter the card they didn't react to, which is flip it over. And then you do immediately what it says. So it just moves right there. And then everything is discarded. And you know what I forgot? And I forget this every time I play it. The first thing you do at your turn is turn the time counter over. So we did 2 rounds, so we're actually there. Okay, so it's 1 a.m. now. We'll do one more round. Flip it over first, so it's 1:30 a.m. Then you monitor the rooms. We got an empty room, another empty room. Oh, what was that? And oh, what was that? Player 1 had a nice little run. Oh, what was that? Player 2. Oh, player 2 drew a toy Freddy. And what was that? An empty room. And whoops, forgot to discard that. And what was that? So you look at the things. Player 2 is at 90. Player 2 is at, okay, I think player 2 is supposed to be at 85. And we forgot to do this one down, so 80. So player 2 goes first again, because player 2 has more power. Player 2 will encounter the toy Freddy, and the what was that there? You discard the empty room, and you roll for the ones you react to, so leaves 5 there and shuffle them back in, and 5 there. So player 2 will only spend 10 energy, down to 75. And then player 2 will shuffle Freddy back in. So you immediately shuffle them in when you encounter when you react to the monster. So there's always a chance that they could be the card you draw, but you go from here. Flip that over, discard that. Now we encounter this one, which just means we move this over 1. Then player 1 goes. You discard your empty rooms. Choose your encounters. Player 1 is actually going to encounter just that one. So player 1 will do what this card says, which is just move that over. Encounter this. Forgot to roll. That's a 5. So that's discarded, and player down to 75. So now they're both at 75. So next turn, player 2 would go first because they have the star. That's what I meant by that. But that's it. You just play like that until you run out of time. If you get down to 6 a.m., you win the game. And then once it reaches 6 a.m., whoever has more power wins, even though it's kind of a tie if you ask me. And then you also win if your opponent dies. You die by running out of power or having a monster show up. So let's say there's no monsters there, but and if you run out of a pile, let's say we use up all of these, then the other piles would shift. That's the other rule. But that is it for the game. It's really simple. It seems more complicated than it is until you start playing. My problem is, I don't know if it's a placement of the clock cards or something. I seem to forget the clocks almost every time I play it. I haven't been able to beat it in solo mode, or 2-player mode actually. Oh, and speaking of solo mode, the only difference with solo mode, if you do a 1-player game, the only difference is, I'm going to flip the board over here. The only difference with 1 player is this. It's just 1 player. But the rules are all the same. So that's it for this game. It is fun. It's fast. I mean, I think the box says it takes 20 minutes to play. You can go through it a lot quicker than that, really. It is a nice, simple game. It says 13 and older, but I have no problem playing it with my 9 and 11-year-olds. But that will do it for this video. Would I recommend it? I would recommend this game. It's fun, it's cheap. If you like Five Nights at Freddy, then it's really cool too. So I'll be back with another video soon. Thanks for watching, and have a great week.